To my boss, yeah. And he is also one of the great personalities we have in the creative and what we say the culture and creative industries, yeah. So he is the Deputy Executive Director of the National Commission on Culture. He's Theo Richardson Kwame. Doc, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kwame.
Everything okay?
Everything is fine.
How is the culture policy going? Where have we gotten to?
Well, I think the last exercise that was undertaken was an engagement with the National House of Chiefs
Okay.
in Kumasi.
Wow.
For all chiefs across the country to also make input into the policy. And so
Wow.
we are working on it to also engage NDPC, as the National Development Planning Commission, to also make an input, and then we do a final round here in Accra. And
Awesome.
Then, yes, and then we'll be able to now finalize.
Are
it
you
for-
looking forward to completing everything this year?
Yes, I mean that is the expectation of government.
Okay.
Yeah, to be able to complete that and have it approved this year. Yes, but well, I believe in a comprehensive approach, and so I don't. I feel we should not. The ministry should not be pressured with time.
Okay.
To just push it out. But I think that the ministry is doing a very good job in terms of making sure that there's a broader consultation before the policy comes out.
Okay. I hope Nana Otu is doing well.
Very, very well. Yeah.
Nice one. Joy
Nice.
99.7 FM. And today we're having a continuation of our topic, the one we started last week, Creative Industry Manifesto. All that we're doing is to proffer ideas to the political parties, what we think they should put into their manifestos. Most times when they bring out their policies, we analyze, we criticize them. But why not also make input into the whole manifesto that they put together for the creative industry? That is why we are here. Let me start with music. Yeah, music. And since we have president of music are here, let me ask him, after speaking to his people, listening to people in the music industry, what does he think are the pressing needs of the music industry, things that you suggest to the political parties to incorporate into their manifestos? Uncle Bessa.
Well, thank you very much, Kwame. After being round the country about 4 times, listening to both young and old, I think we need to have a reintroduction of music education, especially at the basic school levels. Because with music, if you catch them early, it's better. And if you look at the diatonic scale, that's the mother of every melody, whether you come from China or everybody uses the same, and everything is built on that. So that as they are growing up, they understand the rudiments in music, and they build melodies in their minds, because from there, whatever you do, you have it already. So the elements just fall in. You choose and pick, and then you do it. So I think that is very, very important. And that also comes with our culture. So as our children are growing up, they know our local songs, some of our culture things. And this is what makes us unique from any other country. So I think we should do that. The other one is copyright reinforcement for media houses to pay royalties for using music. You pay royalties for films, and robust checking of piracy, which is very glaring and rampant these days. You drive in and somebody will come trying to sell your own music to you. And so I think with that, we need to have special enforcement. Like there should be, like in South Africa, they have special police that goes around, make sure that, copyright law is enforced. And also, we need a fast-track courts who will measure in these things and then make it happen. And also, we need what I call capacity building, because the trends have changed. These days we are not selling CDs, we're not selling that. So we need to have this capacity building due to changes in the music industry and performances of technology from production to distribution. These days, everything is about digital. You know, everything, even many people in Ghana don't know about digital stores. So we need to get it on the way so that the consumer and the producer, know that when I finish my music, I have to upload it onto the digital stores and people know where to go. And that's why I spoke about downloading. Also, I think there should be access to funding in this part of the world. Grants are needed, and soft loans, etc., are needed for the industry players. Not per se just the musician, but businessmen who want to come into the creative arts industry. Another thing we have started already is the listing of high life as part of UNESCO's list of the world's intangible cultural heritage. We need, as a nation, have high life attached to Ghana, that wherever you go, because wherever you go, when you say high life, everybody knows it's Ghana, but we have to attach it to Ghana. So governments will have to support that and make sure we get this done. Let me add one, then we'll talk about the rest later. That is tax-free importation of personal equipment. Like a musician is coming to town, he has his guitar, he has his small combo, it should be exempted of tax, so that they can come and then ply their business, with ease. I also think we need legislations, like we have for other professionals, bodies such as the Ghana Bar Association, Ghana Medical Association, and other professional associations. For example, if you're a musician and you are not a member of, let's say, Musica, some things will have to, but if you're a member of Musica, some things also should happen to you for you to be able to ply your trade with ease. So these are some of the things, we are presenting to the government.
Great. Talking about music education, what would you suggest be done to make the education at the basic level more effective, if you like? Because years ago, I was a teacher. I was teaching at the basic level. I studied music at the training college. So I was teaching music most times when it was time for culture and all that. I was teaching because I could read the sofa notation and all that. I was aiding in that. But not every teacher was like me. Most of them who were teaching who were class teachers didn't have any idea what a do is from a so, let alone go teach them. So if they took the textbook, they were just going to ask them to copy the notes into their textbooks, and then they would ask them questions. So one thing I spotted when I was in the teaching field was the fact that they lacked teachers who were versed in the subject. So in this situation, are we maybe going to suggest that the education ministry invest more in training teachers who have the knowledge in the art, so that, for example, if you go to the basic school, we have people with specialty teaching certain courses? Because when you go to school, most times, basic level, English, math, science is like a general course. There are general courses which can be taught by everybody, but music is not. Music is not. So as a union, what would you suggest be done as we are all thinking about how to make the music education at the basic level more functional? What do you think specifically should be done by the Ministry of Education, maybe in collaboration with the Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry?
Yeah, I mean, I myself, I'm a music teacher,
Yes.
After Winneba, I taught a bit.
Yeah.
I still teach music, but privately.
Yeah.
I think we have more music teachers now in Ghana more than ever.
Okay.
Some are traveling outside to go and teach music. And what you just said is very important. And these teachers are there to, teach the kids.
Yeah.
We also have musicians, music teachers, as part of our membership. And when you come to Musica, and we can supply, the Ministry of Education, and this is something we are giving to the governments, the politicians, that they should take very, very close look at this. We can supply them music teachers, not only the ones that teach foreign music, but also the local music. You see, even our guitar playing, it should be taught to the kids so that we don't lose it. The moment we lose it, we will all be playing country music. But we need to get our ampersand, we need to get our don song, we need to get all this. And so as we are going, the composers, the singers have these guitarists in place for them, so that when you call them, they can play. I know some musicians in living abroad, they will never come home because they can play our local thing. And they're doing workshops from morning to night. And the foreign guitarists are learning, and they pay for it. So we have to teach more of our kids. And this, since you grow with it, because the rhythm is in us, but you need to get more practice as a kid.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the reason why I can still play keyboard is I worked on my fingering very, very, very tight. So now even when I play, I don't feel too tight because the fingering technique is there. So this is what I'm saying. We have cultural drummers who are members of Musica. We can supply this. And we have even written to the Ministry of Education and some schools, so that if they need them, we can supply them. But it should be on the school curriculum.
Exactly. And just as you mentioned, Musica can support in this regard, because even apart from the fact that you may have a teacher who knows music, sometimes you need a resource person.
That's right.
Where do you get them from? But the question is, who resources the resource person? Because most times the budgets for these basic schools are so tight that they are catering to maybe chalk and other teaching and learning materials, and nobody cares about how much we are going to pay a resource person who is coming to teach music or culture. So it boils down to making it a priority to the education ministry.
Yeah, it's very, very important that the ministry take care of their how they're going to reimburse them. But I think once they put it in the curriculum, they will have to have what goes with it. So that, because these people are very, very important. True. I remember when we were at Winneba, when we're doing the local music drumming and things, we have a special drummer who teaches how to play the gong gong, how to play the kete, how to play the phantom from, know, and then the language that goes with it.
True.
And it is so exciting. At the same time, you have someone teaching us how to play and teach violin, how to teach how to play piano and things like that. So it is very important. I think they should add the monies.
But it will surprise you to know that at the basic level, actually, they have creative arts subject being studied as we speak now. There is a course called creative arts. But the problem is what I mentioned earlier on, the materials to teach them with. So the creative art has maybe sewing. There's a sewing aspect. There is a sculpture aspect. There is music aspect. There's a drama aspect. But the teaching is not effective because the people who are teaching don't have a lot of knowledge in those areas. One, they lack the teaching and learning materials, resources, money to even resource them when they are going for culture and all that. So I think maybe what we should move for is to make the teaching more practical, more instructive, more effective by providing the people who can really teach, resource people, the monies, the financial aspect, and make it a priority. I mean, that is what I think maybe we should be pushing, because the subject is there. They are not teaching it well. As we speak now, my younger brother, teaches now as a teacher, and he tells me we have all these in the books. He's also musically inclined. He can teach them music, but the others can't. So that is the problem. So I think that maybe we should broaden the discussion. Ministry of Education, Tourism, Arts and Culture should come together to find a way of making the teaching of creative arts at the basic level more functional. And I also know people know how important it is for people to learn even music and the creative arts at that level, the cognitive aspect. So I think, Uncle Bessa, I'm happy you are taking this step and moving forward with the idea of making the education of music at that level very functional. I think we should push more, and I'm happy that we are putting this in the manifesto. But let me move on to another thing, the copyright aspect. Last week, Seven was here, and he said something. He said maybe we should get an alternative CMO for music. Do you agree? Maybe we should have, apart from GAMRO, we should have another collective management organization to take royalties for musicians. Would that help?
Well, I don't know, but I think the whole thing is that at the moment, GAMRO has all the structures in place,
Okay.
ready to fly.
Okay.
So we need to all support and put our energy and ideas behind GAMRO.
Okay.
Sit down with GAMRO, see what they are finding, their challenges, and I mean, bringing a new one. How are you going to solve the challenges? You're going to start all over again. But that doesn't even matter. But I think if we all come together and support GAMROs, try and solve some of the challenges they're going through, and make sure that it is built like any other place, because we can't invent any new wheel. It's the same pattern.
Okay.
And if you check other countries, many people have gone through this, but in the end, once they settle it, everything is running. These days, everything is digital. We cannot go around collecting royalties manually. It should be in a digital portal. And every user, if I say user, I mean people who download music, people who play music, people who use music for their programs, the media houses, the spinners, everything should be in that portal. And so once you play, your royalties goes in there. And every artist who is registered with the CMO knows what's going on there. They can tap in some few letters, and then they see how their royalties are going.
Okay.
And this is what I think we should all support GAMRO to have in place.
Great. We have a lot to talk about on the show. You also mentioned piracy, digital stores, tax incentives, and music membership and benefits and all that. We'll get deeper into that. But let me go around and see if B and Richard have anything to say on your presentation. You can also join us now, 055-1111-997. We are suggesting to the political parties things that we think will benefit the industry, the creative industry. So they should listen and pick one or two things as they put together their manifestos. Let me go to B and ask if she has anything to say about Uncle Bessa's submission. So he has made mention of music education, copyright, listing of high life as UNESCO intangible heritage. That's one thing that is being done. Piracy, digital stores, tax incentives, and music membership, saying that maybe there should be a law that would give people who become members of music some benefits from those who are not members. Do you have any take on that?
Oh, I absolutely agree with everything he said. Honestly, I can't challenge him on a single point. He's the president.
He's the president. He knows all the problems, man.
He knows all the problems. He's very well versed, and he knows he's highlighted all the important steps that I can just, as a way of comment, I can just say that I happen to have grown up in a country, the former Soviet Union, where a lot of attention and emphasis was placed on creative arts.
Sure.
When, it was part and parcel of the whole curricula, the education system. Sure. Because I think if there's one thing the Soviets understood, was that first of all you bond a nation through culture and art. You give an identity to a people through the arts, sure, whether it's fashion, music, dance. So there was also this idea that you could not be a complete, at the time, Soviet, person with all the ideals that embodied, without having both a scientific education and artistic or creative. So, to be honest, I was very young then, but I grew up, taking science classes, in parallel with music, going to
Great.
the theater. It was part of the education. I do understand that we probably don't have, it all boils down to resources. But in a lot of quote unquote developed countries, they never underestimate the importance of the creative aspect of a person's development. So, in fact, a lot of money is allocated to the creative arts. A lot.
Underlining a lot.
Yes, a lot of money. It's not, yes, a lot. It's not secondary, It's not something that is relegated to the back. Or let's, no,
Sure.
no, no, no. You can't. As you are learning how to compute, as you're learning how to do your chemical, formulas, and learning your quadratic equations simultaneously,
Great.
you are also learning about music. You are taking music classes, whether you're learning how to, you never become an operatic singer maybe,
Good.
but you would be. And also, I think that you would agree that certain neuronal connections form in the brain,
True.
that are important.
True.
Things like creative thinking.
True.
So you might become a doctor or an engineer, but we tend not to explain to people how important it is to be exposed
I
to
love
the
that.
arts, to be able to have all those neuronal connections that would make you probably a better painter, a better mason, a better taxi driver, a better architect, so just so we understand, we're not just highlighting people
I
with
love
a
that.
high education. You don't, generally I think the arts are important. So when we as a people and as a government understand that, then we would, when we're creating our policies, our budgets, our designing our curricula, we will understand that going for music classes or dance classes or drumming classes are just as crucial for your development, your cognitive development as a human being. It gives you a sense of identity and pride, and makes you a better, generally, you just become a more clever person, regardless of where you end up working, whether it's with the creative arts or maybe, becoming I don't know, a politician,
Fantastic.
a politician or a radio presenter.
Fantastic.
So that's my submission.
That is why I always prefer STEAM over STEM. That is why I always go for STEAM model of education, unlike the STEM education. People have their own reservations, but I will always go for STEAM. Let me come to you, Dr. Kwame. Do you have anything to say on music?
Yes, Kwame, I must be very honest that for quite some time now, politicians have not been serious with creative art education, and that is clear. I mean, how do you succeed in music education when you don't have demonstration studios or rooms in schools?
They don't.
Right. So Uncle Besa is talking about the teaching of instruments and all that. Where do they even get the instrument? The Ghana culture policy, which is under review now, enjoined all schools to at least have a traditional ensemble. One.
At least one.
At least one ensemble. So if it is a basic school in the Volta region, at least they should have a Bobobo ensemble or an Achaboko ensemble or whatever. Go to the schools and ask whether they do have.
They don't.
Okay. And where, even if they do, where do they keep them? Right. So how do we teach guitar, keyboard, piano and all that when we don't even have the basic school do not even have those instruments? So before you even think about a teacher, ask yourself about the availability of the instrument. Because the sight of them even inspires, and we, that I want to touch, I want to do that and all that. That alone, right? And we are busy talking about robotics and all these things and all that. Today, societies that are developing are looking at emotional intelligence okay, as where to go. Just like my sister is saying. So we have what, the theory of affect that talks about, some of the benefit of music education and art education in that. So wherever your profession, art has something to teach you, right? The way you react to people, customer care, as a doctor, how you deal with your patients and all that. You can get all these things, okay, treated when you go through art education. But we are not paying attention to that. And until we do, Kwame, we are talking about creating employment, for the young people and all that. Before a child even leaves the basic school, which is from primary 1 to junior high school 3, that person should begin to be earning from the playing of one instrument or the other.
Yeah.
Because before you become a JHS leaver, you should now be able to play an instrument at a party or something and get a tip. Okay? So even before you get to senior high school, you are using one or two of these instruments to get something. Right? Sewing, fashion begins at that point.
Yeah.
What have we done with our vocational education in basic schools? I remember way back, that is when we had to start the needlework,
Yeah.
and all that. And so, even when you're at home or when you're about going to school and then you lose a button, you know how to fix it yourself and all that.
I came later after you, but we had a course called Life Skills.
You see,
There you go.
but
There you go.
yes, so what is really, really, really happening that we seem to be saying that we are following the global trend and all that, but we are rather making our people, more kind of to depend on others before they can survive. And so every child now grows up and is like, everything should be done for me. Because we have not been able to respect, as you said, this team we are talking about.
Yeah.
And also to be able to leverage on the uniqueness of our own culture. Kwame, we can do well in robotics. We can do well in what you call it, any technology. We can even manufacture phones here in Ghana. But the fact is that when are we going to beat Apple and the rest? When they started, where were we? I get it, me. I mean, if you go through African American theater, it tells you that, when it talks about the development of our arts and all that, Americans and co are about 200 years ahead of us. So we are not going to talk about competition here.
Okay.
What we need to talk about is that what are the unique cultural products that we are going to sell to be competitive. And we are concentrating on robotics, and so our students will do all the wonderful things during maths and science quizzes, but when they go out there for robotic competitions, they are unable to even place things where they are. And then we leave the high life, the bobobo, the rest that we can compete with, and the world cannot do anything with it unless they learn from us. We leave them behind. So what are we doing with our education? And the ego around curriculum development in this country, I just don't understand. There's no sectorial synergy anywhere. Immediately, there's a minister here who's in charge of this and makes an instruction. No other sector. But the policies, the culture policy was clear. The framers knew that there should be the involvement of the National Commission on Culture and other cultural stakeholders in the development of our curriculum. Now, Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service are now saying that they have their own cultural unit. And so, if they have their own cultural directorate, then that should be enough to make input into our curriculum development. And this is where we are. So if we're going forward, we need to.
So does that mean they can't work in tandem with the cultural policy?
That is the problem. Where are they? What are they consulting in the curriculum development?
Have you seen their policy, their document?
I I've seen the creative art. In fact, I've gone through the entire curriculum in terms of creative art.
Does it have any similarities with the content of the cultural policy?
I mean, no. If it has, Uncle Bessa will not be talking about it because it will ensure that an organization, a CSO like the Musicians Union of Ghana, should be at the table at the point for discussion. Ask him. He's here. Right? So these are the critical issues we were talking about. Every district should have a conservatory. Okay? Where
look, I hope you are not doing your presentation.
No.
Good. No. Go on.
It's arts education, right? So even after school, when school has closed, you still have a community place you can go to continue your practice.
Yeah.
Right? Because you may have you may have just a 1 hour 30-minute session in school with your teacher maybe twice in a week. But there is a studio, a demonstration room in the district or in the community where you can continue daily to learn something from there. And that is why we have the National Commission on Culture and the Centers for National Culture, regional, district level, to be able to provide all these services. But I don't know what is happening.
But whose duty is it to make sure that all these institutions are in sync?
It is the same politician, because at the end of the day, we've made our constitution in a way that the ministry is in charge of policy and legal formulation. And so whatever you do as an agency under the ministry is to advise. And depending on the political will and priority of a government at the time, okay, then they will decide where they are going to go into. Perhaps we have to do robotics to get more grants and funds and sponsorship and donations from the West to support parts of our education. Perhaps we have to be doing the sciences to get that kind of support. And if we should be listening to these crazy people talking about music on joy, we are not going to get those donations and funds to do other things.
Are we the crazy people?
That's how they perceive us. Huh?
I mean,
we're not crazy. We're very, very smart people. Artists are very smart people.
Right. So Kwame, there's a lot we have to do.
Okay.
About music education, and I tell you, it is going to solve a lot of the statistics in terms of unemployment we are talking about. Before somebody graduates as a senior high school leaver, he has something that he can, he or she can rely on.
Awesome.
She can sew, she can cook, right? She can play an instrument. Perhaps some of them might have even...
She can paint.
Yes, she can paint. She can braid hair. She can weave baskets.
And all that, she can carve, right?
Yes.
She can mold with clay, pottery, all these things. But all of them will come back going through universities and come and chase the same government who is not listening to us.
For employment.
Well,
thank you very much, Dr. Theo Richardson Kwame, and he is the Deputy Executive Chairman, Executive Director, of the National Commission on Culture. Join 99.7 FM. You can send in your thoughts 055-1111-997. Now, let's talk fashion. Let's talk fashion. Let's get to Beatrice B. Arthur now and get into the fashion side of life. What do you think are some of the things that the political parties should consider as they are, putting together their manifestos? I know by now most of them are already working so hard to think about what to tell the people out there in the creative industry, what they're going to do for us. What would you suggest, B?
Okay, well, before I delve into that, I think first and foremost I have to underline that we are what we wear.
We are what we wear.
Absolutely. I also want to emphasize on the fact that as humans we wear clothing to a great extent distinguishes us from animals. So in fact, it's probably the one most important thing, although some would argue that it's the use of, when we started using stones and creating tools.
Yeah.
But I believe that covering our bodies, whether it's what's for the sake of protection or showing rank or any other purposes, what distinctly makes us different from animals. Now, I also want to quickly just underline what fashion is before I go on to say what policies would actually help the sector. So fashion refers to the prevailing styles, trends, and cultural expressions in clothing, accessories, beauty, and behavior in a particular time and place. It encompasses not only clothing, but also textiles, footwear, jewelry, hairstyles, makeup, and body language. Fashion plays a significant role in the economy, and here are some of the specific ways in which it does. Number one, job creation. So the fashion industry employs millions of people worldwide, from designers to models to textile workers to manufacturers and retailers.
Good.
Okay, number two, fashion is important in revenue generation. The global fashion industry is a multi-billion-dollar market, contributing significantly to national GDPs and generating substantial tax revenue. Number three, cultural export. So fashion is an ambassador of culture, showcasing a nation's heritage, creativity, values to the world, promoting cultural exchange and understanding. Four, innovation driver. Fashion encourages innovation in textiles, materials, science and technology, driving advancements in manufacturing, marketing, and sustainability. Five, social and economic development. The fashion industry can contribute to poverty reduction, women's empowerment, social mobility, particularly in our parts of the world. Economic multiplier effect. Fashion stimulates related industries like photography, modeling, event planning, beauty, creating a ripple effect in the economy. So we all need fashion, whether you're in the music industry, whether you are a radio host, whether you are working with the National Commission. We all walk around in clothes. None of us are seated here naked, ladies and gentlemen. So if you ever wondered how important fashion is,
Very important.
just think about the fact that nudity is not an option. So yes, so these are just some of the important roles that fashion plays in a society. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but UNESCO actually released a report last year, which was called "The Fashion Sector in Africa: Trends, Challenges, and Opportunities for Growth." And so it was a very exhaustive report. I had to go through the 83 or more pages. I wouldn't bore you with too much detail, but basically what the report encapsulated was things like so 32 African countries organize annual fashion weeks. Sadly, Ghana is not part of those countries.
We are
We'll
not
talk
part.
about. We are not. Please bear in mind that that report was actually launched in Nigeria, which is just next door neighbor. So if
This is a report for 2023.
this is a this
Or
is
2022.
this was released in October 2023.
So it is
to the
for-
world. It was released to the world, but it was released in Nigeria. Why not Ghana? Because basically we're not part. That's why I sometimes think using the word industry is a little bit ambitious. I think we have a sector. I'm from the sector. I never use the word
Maybe
industry.
industry in single quotes.
Yeah, I think industry means something a little bit more organized, structured, and streamlined. And we're not there yet.
You don't have a fashion industry in Ghana.
I don't believe we do. I don't believe so. I mean, anybody can challenge me if they want. But then you see, if it's industry, if you can look it up, look at the word industry in your dictionary, and it's something very structured. And what we have is mostly very small scale dressmakers, some individual, quite accomplished fashion designers, but then there is no proper governing body. There are no, that maybe sets standards, checks, that things conform to certain, when it comes to quality. We don't have that, In some countries, they have a body that even tells you whether your clothes fall under high fashion or under ready to wear. We don't have any of that, unfortunately. So we do have a lot of talented designers and dressmakers and tailors. But to use the word industry, I beg to differ, and I am from that sector. So so I think I can get away with it. So what was very important, or what I'd like to highlight, is that the report gave some recommendations. So they came from the Director General of UNESCO, Audrey Azoulay. Okay, so at the end of the 83-page report, some of the 4 policies that were recommended for Africa in general, but I think it applies to us as well, are: number 1, integrate fashion ecosystem into national development plans. Number 2, enact interministerial coordination to guide the development of the fashion sector. Developing intellectual property legislation. Enhancing data collection and analysis, highlighting the need for more work to improve access to quality education and vocational programs. And also, another one was improving policies relating to fair remuneration across the African fashion sector. So these are the 4 policies that were recommended by UNESCO. So all of these apply to us in Ghana, because this was like generally a lot of data was was collected from across the continent, and this is what was recommended to us. So I believe that yes, so our sector is a relatively thriving one, which generates substantial revenue and creates employment opportunities for all of the following categories. So skilled artisans. So that would be bead makers, textile weavers, tie and dye, batik manufacturers, tailors, dressmakers, fashion designers, marketing professionals and entrepreneurs, modeling agencies, photographers, makeup artists, hairstylists, accessories, designers and manufacturers, content producers, online fashion platforms, importers and vendors of fashion and garment haberdashery and equipment, and textile factories, which we have a couple of. So as you can see, that our sector is very, very important in terms of giving jobs, empowering people, and then there are other aspects of fashion that maybe we'll talk later. There's fashion is political, by the way. I mean,
fashion is political.
Absolutely, fashion is a very political.
How?
Fashion.
Why?
So it always has been. Your right to wear what you wear. You don't just decide when you arrive in any space, any country, and you walk out of whether it's the airport or the train station, whatever. What you see, how people are dressed, tells you everything about that society.
All right.
Whether it's a conservative society, whether it's a liberal society. I don't know. I don't think people really think about that. But when you just arrive anywhere, you don't know anything about the people, and you just go and see how they dress. It tells you everything about them. Are the women covered from head to toe? Can they show their hair? Can they show skin? Okay, are they wearing traditional garments, or are they wearing, trendy outfits that we saw yesterday on fashion TV? So you immediately get to a place and instantly everything you need to know about the place just by looking at how people dress. You can also immediately distinguish. Fashion is also it's a marker, it's a social marker, isn't it? So when you look at society, you would see they're subcultures. There will be people that are dressed in defiance.
Yeah.
Right? There'll be people who don't conform to the norm. This is the trend. This is how everybody has to dress. So when you see somebody that in a place where everybody has a short hair, cuts, down cuts, and somebody is wearing locks, that person is already belonging to maybe a subsection of that, and maybe they're trying to pass a message across.
Yeah.
We use our garments, the way we dress, to project a lot of things, including defiance or conformity. So it's not just everything. So there will be, if you belong to a certain class, you would wear certain things. To a certain profession, you would wear certain colors. Do you get me? So all of these are markers when you come into a space. But the first thing it tells you is, how free are people to dress up the way they would like to dress up? That's why I say it's very political, because it can be used as a weapon. If we all came here wearing red right now, knowing what red stands for, right? It could look like we're here in protest, because you understand there's a color code. We attach colors, meanings to certain colors.
So if everybody is in black,
all dressed in black, we'll look mournful in it. You know what I mean? So are you getting my what I'm trying to say? So that's the first thing that people see about any space, any culture when they arrive, is what are people wear. And then, so that's the political aspect of it, the social aspect of it, whatever you want to call it. And then you have the other aspect, which is generating income, and as I said, we don't walk around naked. So for me, my industry is the most important.
Very important. Very important. I have some questions for you, but let me go on Zoom first.
Sure,
Let's talk about literary arts. I have this wonderful lady on Zoom waiting to talk to us about literary arts, and she's a poet. She is an author as well. She has been monitoring the conversation. She's on Zoom now. As we talk about the creative industry, we need to broaden our scope and include almost everybody. So she's been invited, and she gladly accepted our invitation. So she is a performance poet, author, founder of ARP Festival, coordinator of IFWA Sutherland Centenary, and she's the board chair of Poetry Association of Ghana. So she is a freestyle poet, as I said earlier on. According to her, I wish you courage in the. Okay, let me leave this here. I think I'm reading too much. Let me leave this here and go straight on Zoom and speak to my sister Emma Ofusua, who is a performance poet and an author, to tell us what they think. I mean, the literary people think the various political parties should consider when they are fashioning out policies for the creative industry. Emma Ofusua is on Zoom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kwame, and to the other panelists in the studio. Happy to join online and virtually. Good afternoon to the listeners as well.
Great. And good to have you.
Good to be here. Good to be
awesome. Here. I don't know if you've been following the conversations from the beginning.
Yeah, I've been listening to all the political statements being made about the different sectors, and I'm just here trying to figure out, are we supposed to make a political stance for each? But yeah, it's been fascinating.
You are not supposed to make... You're not supposed to make any political stance. You're supposed to just share ideas. Share ideas. What do you think your sector needs from policymakers, if you like? So it's about just sharing ideas, not really making any political statements, if you like.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I was just chiming in to say I appreciate those articles, and it's fascinating to hear. I think I would probably pivot from a quote that IFWA Sutherland put out or said, and she's made that it's always been the case that humanity has demonstrated our need again and again for the artist and for artistic creation. Art is indispensable. And when we say art, we are tempted to box it to the visual arts and sometimes leave out the literary performing arts. It's been very fundamental to what society represents and needs to leverage in order to move forward. Literary art and performance poetry and even the writing for page has always been a part that we don't give the needed attention to. We box it into a cluster of art groups. And when we box a lot of things together, what we tend to do is that we pay attention to the dominant child, especially in a family. If you're a middle child, you realize that the middle child is always overlooked because we are like, okay, you don't need that much attention anyway. So it's always either the last one or the first one. But poetry has always been at the core, call it the cell of all forms of performing art. Musicians will have to jot down their lyrics before they take to the microphone to even put music to it. There are writers who are writing novels, and it always starts with a certain how should I put it? More like a compact thought, and that is poetry. Poetry is putting expression to our everyday human experiences and communicating it in beautiful, colorful language that people can resonate with in a way that says, this is exactly what I was trying to articulate, but haven't had the right language to, if you were, articulate it. And when it comes to the policies around this sector, or call it a sector pretty much, because then not much of an infrastructure has been built around the craft and the skill sets to even warrant it being an industry. But I think we have not done justice in building the right infrastructure around it. There are so many creatives in the space trying to do one programming after the other to add value, to improve the quality of content and quality of output, but there is no infrastructure to support that work. Artists who are making less to nothing in this economy are having to cough up huge sums just to be able to put off a show so that other artists can have a platform to leverage. And that is something that we should particularly pay attention to. I think it was Uncle Bessa Simons who was talking earlier about tax rebates. And for me, I think that in policy, that is probably stated, but it is not structured in a way that makes implementation fluid. And so you would find that it is there in black and white, but the enforcement of that particular written down thing is not going as it should. If corporates are held to record and are told you have to in every year show which creative arts event you have supported, and as a result of that proof you are given a tax rebate for that, corporates will be forced or mandated on authority from government and from policymakers to actually see to supporting artists and arts-led spaces. Today, we're looking for a space to have an event. Mostly are built on economic reasoning, and most of these arts are not exactly huge cash generation events like music. You can put on a music concert and probably have a lot of people attend and pay huge sums of money for. Put together a poetry concert and very few people are going to come. So the goal for these events is not exactly economic. It is something far more than that. It is preserving our folklore. It is preserving our histories. It is being a custodian of our cultural heritage. That is the kind of necessary important work we do as creatives, even as poets. And for that kind of work, you can't exactly put an economic tail or an economic value to it immediately. And so when we are going into spaces and the target or the mandate is you have to be able to generate X and X amount, then it makes it difficult to even value what is being done. But the value is immeasurable. It is immeasurable. And so for me, I feel like when there are funds, there are grants and things set up to support artists, empower artists who are doing significantly well to hone and nurture art-led spaces, we will be able to have more artists on those platforms, having the liberty and the freedom to create endlessly and to carry on our culture so that nothing gets lost, nothing gets missing in translation. You would find that most venues would stop doing open mics and other things. Why? Because the person leading it is in for the business. The person is not an artist. But if it is an art-led space and there are policies that regulate how much of taxes they pay, how much of incentives are given, how much of support funding wise is given to these art-led spaces, you find that the artists don't burn out. It nurtures the community of artists coming up. It gives room for people to be able to explore the creative aspect of them, and it keeps carrying on these invaluable heritage and values that we keep saying is getting lost today. I think I'll probably end with this thought for this segment. And if there's another question, I could take it up. But today, most families are losing touch with our local dialects. Why? Every child in every home is speaking English. Poets who and literary writers who write in Akan don't exactly have the wealth of resource to channel that kind of content out. Every child today, pick their average kindergarten, nursery up until JSS kid, they can't even pick one proverb in their own dialogue or mother tongue. And most of us are getting lost. It is the artist, it is the writer, it is the poet who would make sure that this particular cultural value and heritage is carried on, and families, parents have the support they need to carry this education on. We feel our societal fabric is being broken and being loose. It is because we are not empowering the custodians, the people who have what it takes to make sure that these this value, this virtue, this history is carried on from generation to generation, and make it more exciting, even for the young people. So yes, policies need to be made, but again, beyond saying we will do it, it is putting in place stringent structures to make sure implementation is sound and makes sense. I am not a big fan of putting it in theory and speaking big jargons about it. When it comes down to the work, what are we doing to make sure that all the English we spoke on the platforms is actually being done in motion and on the ground it's working?
Fantastic presentation, Emma Ofosua there. Emma, let me ask you this question in terms of copyright or royalties. I know as an author, Copy Ghana caters to your needs when it comes to copyrights. What is the arrangement with regards to your royalty collection in that regard?
I don't know that any of that exists for the poets. At the moment, I don't know. So I stand to be corrected if there are any such arrangements. I know Copy Ghana is doing a lot with Power with Gao, to make sure that those issues are being rectified. But for poetry, I think for us, the best way to put it is we have over the years struggled to put together a united front to represent and speak for us. And now we have been able to consolidate a poetry association. So maybe with a front facing frame or a body that represents our needs and our concerns, we will be able to champion some of these arrangements for the community and for the artists that exist. But at the moment, I doubt that any poet, any writer is earning the rights royalties for their work or anything. It would be that you earn directly from your live shows and your live performances.
Wow.
But on your work living on, those are not enforced structurally.
Yeah, I asked this question because I know some of you have done some publications. You, Apioko, and a number of the poets that I know have publications. So I'm just trying to know if you get royalties for those literary works.
No. Even with my personal work, again, maybe if there were corporate bodies or traditional publishing bodies that are supporting these works, maybe they would have the robust structures to pursue these things for us. But as individuals, I'm an indie artist, and so for my works, I'm mostly self-published. And for its promotion and its circulation and everything, I have had to champion it solely. And so there's no other body supporting that. When it comes to me pursuing what copyrights I am due and what honor royalties I am due, I haven't. And I don't know, I can't speak for Api or Call, but we speak in these circles and none of those arrangements have come up even in our dialogues. And so at the moment, I don't think that any such thing exists just yet, but we hope that with the institution of organizations like the Poetry Association of Ghana, some of these things can be championed in the right sense, and we can have, even when you do your work and someone is supposed to credit you because you were the source first for them, people rarely do the crediting. And so it leaves very little to say to trace back to the particular artist that originated it or owns the what do you call it, IP, the IP,
the intellectual property.
So, yeah, that the right of ownership is not implemented on a well-governed system. And so it's really how hard can you as an individual push, and that is the problem at its core. If there's anything to be done, empower bodies that can help regulate issues on behalf of independent individual artists. But if it's left to every individual, each one for himself and God for us all, there's very little. A lot gets lost in translation, and we don't even know the duration of a particular copyright. It's said that if you write a book and you submit it, sorry, there's an aircraft passing. I hope that didn't interfere.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think like things like rights of ownership, how long you have copyright to your work long after it's written in print, but the
Exactly.
education has not traveled as far. It's why I'm hammering a lot on implementation and education and awareness in a way that people know their rights, people are educated on their rights, and other people out of the writers are also educated on what the right of a writer is, so that we are protected on all fronts. But yeah, a lot more needs to be done, if anything at all is being done at the moment.
Thank you, Emma Ofosua. My takeaway from your presentation is the fact that you are asking the policymakers not to just speak the big English or write so much, but to act. Action is what we need. We need to act, and not just receive the input, the presentation, and just go to bed. We need to see some action with regards to all the things that we are proffering to them at this point in time. Thanks so much, Emma Ofusua, for your contribution to today's topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwame.
Okay, Emma Ofusua there, an author and a poet, speaking to us on Joy 99.7 FM. You can send in your thoughts 05511119997. Let's hear you. We have some messages already. If we can have the read now. A lot of people are contributing now. Let me read these messages and I come to Dr. Fio. Then Beatmanis is here. Yeah, my boss is here. We have a lot to talk about today on the show. Now, let me read this from Kojo Preko Dankwa. Kojo says, per your brilliant analysis made on the studying of creative arts in our schools, basic schools, be it music or painting, and the lack of teachers. 1. The cultural policy of 2004, the one in operation now, speaks to musical instruments, yet we had a policy we never pushed. I wonder if the review will even be pushed. People are wondering. Doc is here. We lack the full flight in catching up with the digital world, creative world. Okay, what has happened to, for instance, John Tay School, that is teaching music? Who were the teachers and where were they from? It also tells me that the Kwadaso Creative Arts School will not see the light of day properly if the basics are not even right. Kojo Preko is writing things. Mirabel, please go up for me. The agenda for our kids, children, is what? We lack the ability to believe in our own. Curriculum is a problem. This is from Kojo Preko Dankwa. Mirabel, let's have more. This one says, I wish to inquire from your panelists the contribution of our technocrats that we supported, who are now in government as ministers and board executives here and there. Okay, so now for the music aspects, it should start at the basic level and should be part of the general subjects at the College of Education. Yeah, it says, you remember how we did Laba notation? Okay, I think this is somebody who was in the same class with me, and cultural festival during our curricular activities from Papasia Prede. Okay, this should be my classmate. So this person is saying that they should strengthen the learning of the creative arts at the College of Education level. Yeah, those who are being taught to go and teach. Thank you very much. You can also send in your thoughts 05511119997. Beat Menace is here. But before I come to Beat Menace, please be taking note of every presentation. So after first round, I'll come to you. Then I go second round again. Then we continue from the Joy 99.7 FM Showbiz A to Z, brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go, and Superstar Multi-Fruit Drink. Now let's go straight to the Deputy Executive Director of the National Commission on Culture, Dr. Phil Richardson, coming for his presentation. What does he think the culture sector needs from government at this point in time? Doc.
First of all, let me say that You see, whether we like it or yes, we do have an industry. We don't.
This should be a big debate because this man here, Beatman, also thinks we don't have an industry.
We don't have, I mean, what is that? So far as you see,
I don't know.
We
Uncle Besa, do we have an industry?
We have an industry.
Be specific. Which industry?
We are.
Okay, music, do you have a music industry?
Yes.
I don't know what you mean by that, but
Okay.
You mean a well-structured industry?
Yeah.
No, we don't have a
well-structured ecosystem, if you like.
No.
Yes.
We don't
So it is.
And we don't have for fashion too. And we
But
don't have for poetry.
if they don't have an industry, then forget it. Because I was here thinking, the musicians are well organized.
But Doc disagrees though.
So it
let's
is
listen
about
to-
the analysis of
Okay.
the challenges that we have.
Okay.
Right. And so far as we do have a system where some are still having their livelihoods depending on the creative services they provide, and they have means of producing and all that for their consumers and all that. We do have an industry. Of course, right from the word go, we have all agreed that there are a lot that we need to do about the industry. But to start that, we do not have really, maybe, in fact, defeats even this discussion. That's what I would say. We have some structures in place that we need to improve upon them, right? We have policies we can refer to. Emma spoke about the fact that, yes, she believes that a lot of the things she spoke about are in print already. We really need to, up our game in terms of action.
Yeah.
And being in print already tells you that there is an industry. The challenge is that what are we doing about what we have documented and what we have promised that we're going to do in the industry. The first thing I want to say about what we expect from politicians thinking about going into election 2024 in the culture and creative industry, first of all, is about our legal and policy frameworks. I think that there are a lot that needs to be done in that regard. We do not have a lot of policies that are very specific in addressing the needs and the challenges of our industry. And it has come to a point where there are a lot of duplications and conflicts because we do not have policies that have streamlined these activities that we do. When you go under the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, there are about 11 to 13 agencies that the ministry is responsible to. But there are a lot that they are doing that keeps conflicting with each other, and a lot of overlappings that we have. What we need to do is to be able to streamline the legal frameworks that established all these agencies. For instance, I asked the question, why should Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park be an agency? Nkrumah Memorial Park is an agency, right? And so there are a lot of confusions. Why is Cape Coast Castle not an agency? But Cape Coast Castle.
Have you asked why it's an agency? Have you asked from your bosses?
No answer will make sense.
But right? you are closer to them, so
I don't need to ask, right?
Okay.
So I'm not. You see, I'm not speaking to a particular government.
No. I know.
Yes. So
when I say them, I mean those in authority.
Those in authority, whether this government or the opposition that is trying to come.
Yeah.
They are all now going to revise their notes. So yes. So if Cape Coast Castle or Elimina Castle or Kakum cannot be on its own as an agency, why Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park is an agency? Right? Why is National Theatre an agency? Why is the Folklore Board, the National Folklore Board, an agency? Why is W.E.B. Du Bois Center for Pan-African Research or whatever be an agency? We need to ask ourselves all these questions and see whether all these, divisions and separations we are doing really helps.
Okay.
Instead of merging some of them, and
Okay.
so that whatever resources that we have can be. I see National Folklore Board. I mean, with all due respect to the director, due respect to the ministry and all that, it should just be a task force directorate of the National Commission on Culture. I mean, Uncle Bessa was talking about the fact that in some societies or in some countries we have police and other security services put together, going around to ensure that royalties are paid and all those things are done. People have the right to play music here and there and all that, right? So the National Folklore Board is researching and collecting art forms. The National Commission on Culture does same. Some aspect of what the National Theatre does is also about the same thing. Okay? Right? They do anansegro, it's folklore. They do music. And a lot of them are from traditional musical elements. Kwame, These are all, and they do research. What is the relationship between the research that is done by the dance ensemble or the symphony orchestra, which I know the last time we had an engagement, their representative was talking about the fact that they have done a lot of compositions from indigenous music element and all that. What is the relationship between that research that they have done and the data at National Folklore Board in terms of music, for instance? And so all these are separated as agencies and all that, and they seem to be working in silos, which makes it very, 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 very difficult for us. And that is why till today, I'll add to the fact that till today we are unable to convince ourselves, even as industry persons, as what economic value we can place on ourselves, and to be able to tell the politician that this is how much we can make for you if you should invest A, B, or Z in what we are doing.
Okay.
Because even when we try on our own to collect some form of data, they are segregated and they are in some silos somewhere. And so it makes putting this data and all that together very, very difficult. I think that we need policies that will restructure the space. Okay? The Creative Art Agency, Kwame, go through their functions and go through the functions of the Creative Art Directorate of the National Commission on Culture, and put together and do analysis of the functions of that directorate.
So you have
commission,
a directorate at your commission,
at the National Commission on Culture,
which plays a similar role to the Creative Arts Agency. So there is duplication of roles.
Right? And now government should be investing in the Creative Art Agency to have offices at regional levels and even at district levels. When already the National Commission on Culture, which is so many years old, is still struggling to have offices at regional and district levels. Okay, so that's what I think, that we need to have a policy that will be backed by that political will and action. That let's do this and see that we do it to the end. We already have abandoned structures across the country, and so I mean, okay, that governments are struggling, because I mean some are as old as 40
I like how
years.
you are choosing your words advisedly.
Yes, some are as old as 40 years, and so it means that the two political parties in the Fourth Republic can share the blame, right? And if you have a structure that is 40 years old, you cannot find money to complete. Why do you create a new agency that will require that you put up another infrastructure? Right? What happened to the one you have not completed? So these are the critical issues we may have to look at and see what policies that we can have about it. Do we have a good film policy? Do you have a good music policy? Okay, do you have a television and radio policy in this country? Do we have a policy for fashion? I was the chairperson for the group of experts who worked on the report Beatrice was talking about.
Oh, good.
Yes, I mean the Ghana group of experts who worked on. I chaired that committee.
Good.
And there are a lot of challenges there. What kind of policy are we putting in place? The intersectorial policy that we know that the Ministry of Trade and Industry has a role to play. okay, customs, okay, GRA has a role to play. I mean, the understanding even of the tax they collect and how much is from the industry with GRA is even problematic. The statistics by Ghana Statistical Service on the various sectors of our economy is problematic because they have not been able to even codify the creative concept, the various disciplines and domains we have in their own data, right? So they place certain professions and all that in some other domains, and you cannot trace whether these domains are really within the culture and creative space. So we really need these legal and policy frameworks that to be able to address all these things. Kwame, the next thing that I expect parties to look at is infrastructure, both soft and hard, right? We have a lot of challenges in terms of infrastructure. I was talking about music education when I said that we need to have conservatories across the country. When you look at the plan of the Centers for National Culture at the regional and district levels, the original plan is that every regional center should have studios. So you don't need as a musician to travel from your community to Accra or Kumasi or the big cities before you can even get maybe a demo and all that. We go to Cape Coast Center for National Culture now and look at their original plan, also how to build the center and all that. It has places where community people who want to learn music, drama, dance and all that can come for rehearsals and can come and seek guidance from professionals. What happened to all this infrastructure? Okay, go to Bolga, the Center for National Culture is still at the foundation stage for 38 years.
Wow. Foundation stage.
Yes, for 38 years.
Why?
Yes, go to Takrady or Sekendi, you find same. I'm very happy. The new, they say we should say the new representative of the president at the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Honorable Ejapa.
Okay.
Has started, working on getting some of these infrastructures, completed. Starting with the one in Sekendi, and all that. So
he has started doing what exactly?
He has instructed for a re-evaluation to be done by AESL, to see what should be done to complete it. And I think it's a very bold step that he has.
I hope this step goes further.
Yes,
it doesn't end there.
Yes, exactly. And all that. So Kwame, we need infrastructure, right? We do not have a good digital space, as a sector. You come to all these agencies that I've mentioned, and whatever they have done, they don't have even good storage systems for them and all that. Look at the productions that the Ghana Dance Ensemble, have produced all these years. And whether if they were recorded, what the National Theatre is earning from those recordings till today. Right? So we have a lot. Go to the Center for National Culture in Kumasi and ask how many recordings that have been done and what the center and government is earning about from that. So really, we need to have a good digital infrastructure also for the space. Musicians will talk about that same space and all that, but it is a space for all other domains, to be able to have what they do improve. We also need to have funding, a good funding regime. Currently, the only robust funding regime in the sector is a tourism levy and a tourism fund.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, that is the only robust. and just as I spoke about the issue of policy and legal frameworks, what is tourism without all the others? Okay, but that is the only. And then Creative Art Agency by law is also looking at establishing a fund. NFA by law is also looking at establishing a fund. The National Commission on Culture by law is also looking at establishing a fund. The same sector, the same.
Because we all need funding,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, but the point is that what we need is a measure of all these interests, right? Because we know that, I mean, the taxpayer has always struggled.
But look, if you say a measure, there is a ministry that's supposed to be the umbrella body.
Yes.
So the fund should go to the ministry, so it allocates to the various.
Yes. So what I mean is that the tourism fund should be reviewed, I think, because this is not the time for us to be looking at increasing the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian about other taxes. But we already have one that at least Ghanaians have accepted, and they are paying the tourism levy that goes into that fund. What about reviewing it? Maybe upping it up a bit, and then making sure that there are components for all the
subfields.
Yes. So whatever comes into that kitty, this percentage goes into to National Commission on Culture. This percentage goes to National Theatre of Ghana. This percentage, and this also has been dedicated for CSOs to apply. Right? So if we should be able to do that, then of course there is this at least one reliable source of funding for people in the industry to rely on. That is one. Well, we can also be looking at, we have Agriculture Development Fund, a bank, right? ADB.
Yeah.
Right? We can also have a bank for the industry.
For the creative industry.
Yes.
Creative Industry Bank.
Yes. Right? That will also be looking at assessing projects of creatives and see how they can fund them, and see if you are going to the other bank for maybe a 32 interest, 32% interest or whatever. You have this bank that is going to look at giving it to you for 5-7% of interest for you to do your work and all that. So we need to be looking at that to be able to support the industry. I was speaking about synergy already, but we also need to have synergy in terms of events. Manifesto and Emancipation was under the National Commission on Culture. At a point, somebody said that it should be under a foundation with an executive secretary and all that. Right? I have no qualms about that. But the analysis of the impact is there for all of us to see. Right? And then we are introducing other events in this country. What synergy do we have as a country? Do we have a good calendar of event? Why are we not popularizing Homowo the same way we are popularizing Abuachiri or Bakatui or and all that, Akweside and the rest? Why is it that the same government agencies can serve or give the leverage to promote some or selected festivals in the south, and some festivals in the north may not get the same kind of privileges? So what we need to do is to have that conscious effort that what can we do every year to develop and have this synergy of festivals and events in this country. We have a lot of them that are dotted around this country, that all that we need to do is to have them on a particular calendar, and it will attract all the energy and the vibe that we want for them to also improve. The last 3 point is one, promotion. We should do not have government commissioned media project. Right. I remember, is it 2022? There was this film pitch event.
Presidential film pitch series.
Yes, and all that.
That was 2 years ago.
Yes, but I think we need to have a lot of commissioned event in this country, right? There are a lot about our country that I don't know, Kwame, whether I mean, it's an old film by Jackie Chan, who was the main character, the Chinese Zodiac. All right. Okay. Right. So that film was a commission project to promote the museums and indigenous artifacts of China. right?
Okay.
And he spoke against illicit trafficking of artworks and art pieces of China. And I tell you, I mean, it was the beginning of the revolution, okay, for government agencies to set up, for government to be investing in museums and all that. And so Jackie Chan was on the mission to ensure that all artifacts that are connected to the history of China that have been illegally trafficked will be brought back. And so what he and his team has to do is that they have to have a miniature of this artifact, and so he will go and steal them in quote and replace them with the miniature ones. And so you still have it there in your museum and all that, but the original will be in China, right? Today we are having the controversy about Menxia receiving artifact on loan, their own artifact on loan, with a lot of conventional issues and all that we are talking about, and some are very careful because of where it is coming from, and we are struggling to understand the processes we need to go through to be able to retrieve what is really ours and all that. If China has been successful, it was because of a commissioned film.
Wow. I think Ken mentioned this last time when we came here, how to use film to shape people's mindset and ideas.
Exactly. I mean, today, as we speak today, there was this event we did in the month of March during the Heritage Month series. We had some activities and we engaged some security service. I wouldn't want to mention that, but we had to talk to some senior officers, and one of them confessed that, look, today we have a lot of people in uniform who are not patriotic, who do not have the heart for this country to fight for this country. But today you go to America and people want to die for America. And one of the things that really had to shape the mindset of the young people to believe in the American Army uniform, Rambo 1 and 2. That one person, of American connection can put on a uniform and go and destroy a whole Soviet Union. Right? So it tells you that anything the American wants to do, he can. Right? So there are a lot that we can do in terms of promoting the Ghanaian brand.
Exactly.
That we need to work on. And then finally, it's about requisite human resource, manpower.
Don't you have the men?
Oh,
don't you have the men and the women?
We have the men at certain levels. But as I said, at a point you take instruction from someone, the person also takes instruction from the other, and okay.
You take it from one man, yes. To take it from another man.
And we need to ensure that in that hierarchy, there is competence at all levels.
Yeah.
I will end my submission here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theo Richardson Kwame, who is the Deputy Executive Director of the National Commission on Culture. Yeah, I love that. We also have on Zoom Emma Ofusua. Yeah, she has some, let me say, reservations to what Doctor said in his presentation. She'll be speaking to that in a moment. But let me also tell you that you can join us via WhatsApp number 055-1111-997. I also have in the studio President of Musica, Bessa Simons. I have fashion artist Beatrice B. Arthur, and Beat Menace is an audio engineer and creative entrepreneur. We have a lot to talk about after this particular break. Do stay on.
By the National Lottery Authority, not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Pick 4 from Game Park Games. More moolah, more power.
There's someone who's always been there for you through the good times and the tough times. The one who makes everything feel just a little better with a hug, a word of advice, a comforting meal, or just her company. It's your mother, the one who shapes your life in ways you often don't even realize. At Joy FM, we believe that Mother's Day is the perfect time to give back some of the love she's given to you. That's why we're inviting you to share your stories of gratitude in our Thank You Mommy promo this Mother's Day. In a few words, tell us about the sacrifices she's made, the care she's provided, and the moments that have made her so special to you. From the 1st of May to the 12th of May 2024, submit your entries via WhatsApp to 055-969-1797 with the hashtag Thank You Mother, celebrating the woman who's done so much for you. Let's come together to honor our mothers, those irreplaceable pillars of strength and love. Join us in making this Mother's Day a time to remember. Thank You Mommy is powered by Joy FM and sponsored by Woodine, the creator.
Mama, you know I love you.
You're still on Joy 99.7 FM, your superstation, Showbiz A to Z. My name is Kwame Dadzie, and I've been hanging out with President of Music Bessa Simons, author and poet Emma Ofosua, Beats Menace, who is an audio engineer and entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur. Beatrice B. Arthur is a fashion artist. And then we have Dr. Phil Richardson Comey, Deputy Executive Director of the National Commission on Culture. In the meantime, it's a new world of doing business, and your business shouldn't be left out. It's time to get a Momo for Business today to accept payments from over 15 million Momo customers. All you need is a business registration certificate and your Ghana card. So applying to be MTN Momo merchant has been made simple and fast. You just have to dial star 5051 hash, star 5051 hash, and follow the prompt to apply online at momomerchantapplication.mtn.com.gh. And you'll receive a reference number which you can use to track your application, so don't get caught waiting. Enjoy secure and convenient transactions from your business with MTN Momo today. Note that our application is free, so do not pay any money to anyone for a merchant's payment solution. Report any fraudulent charges using the MTN Momo app available on Play Store and App Store. Now, during the month of May, Joy 99.7 FM is giving you the opportunity to express your gratitude to the woman who has been there for you through thick and thin, and has impacted your life in numerous ways. In our Thank You Mommy promo, share your stories of gratitude with us from the 1st to the 12th of May, telling us in a few words about the sacrifices she made, the care she has provided, the moments that have made her so special to you. You can submit your stories via WhatsApp number 055-969-1797, 055-969-1797. Whether it's a touch in memory, a moment of courage, or a simple gesture that made all the difference, we want to hear from you. Thank You Mommy is powered by Joy FM and sponsored by Woodine, le creator. If you are a Christian in any area of leadership and you need more power for impact, then join the host and speaker, Archbishop Charles Agyinasare, and other seasoned speakers from Ghana, Prophet Nanase Sarkodie, Reverend Dr. Steve Wengam, Reverend Mrs. Vivian Agyinasare from Nigeria, Reverend Samuel O. Olubio, Apostle Richard Udo, and then from Congo, Apostle Yves Castano. The theme is how to walk in the power of God. It will be a time of insights, inspiration, and impartation. And the date is Monday, 29th April to Sunday, 5th May, 2024. So it's ending tomorrow. Time is 8:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Venue is Perez Dome, Jolu Junction, Accra. For more information, call 054-863-3650 or you can visit www.sesummit.org. Supernatural Empowerment Summit. Receive power for impact. Still here on Joe 99.7 FM, and tomorrow is a Sunday. You know, on Sundays, we listen to Pentecost Hour. Brought to you by the Church of Pentecost. It comes your way with the chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Eric Nyamiche. On Sundays, 1:30 p.m. On Monday mornings, 5:30 a.m. Hits FM. And then on Joy Prime TV on Saturdays at 7 a.m. Tune in. Yeah, make sure you're listening every Sunday, Monday, Saturday as Apostle Nyamiche brings you life-transforming truth that nourishes the soul, ignites passion, and restores hope in the nations. Church of Pentecost, we are possessing the nations for the Lord. All right, Joe 99.7 FM. You can also send in your messages. We've been talking about the Creative Industry Manifesto. We started last week. We did music, we did film, we did comedy, we did tourism. Today we are doing music, we're doing fashion, culture, and then we're doing poetry. And then all other forms of literary arts. You can send in your messages 05511119997. My name is Kwame Dadzie. Show brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go, Superstar Multi-Food Drink. And this show is produced by Philip and I. Today, assisted by Mirabel Johnson, Chris Speaker on social media. Now, let's get on Zoom. Let's finish up with Emma Ofusua, poet and author. After Doc's presentation, Theo Richardson's presentation, Emma made some points and she has a few concerns to raise. Let me go straight to Zoom and speak to Emma. Emma. Hello, Emma.
Okay. Hi, Kwame.
Yes, I understand you have a few things to say with regards to Doc's presentation.
Right. So I pretty much agree with most of the things he mentioned, especially when he talks about the synergy in terms of events and having an event calendar. Samantha is a tourist who has been to almost every cultural event. I literally call her a cultural ambassador because we need to put that. She's at every show.
Yes.
And I think one of the early conversations we were having when I got acquainted with her was, so how do we get to know what is happening where, and who is the custodian of that kind of data? So for me, I feel like that synergy in events and having a place where that is clearly communicated is very necessary. The issue, though, for me is he mentioned why we have a tourism levy and not a levy for all other arts. And my big problem with that is the fact that we have lumped tourism together with the creative arts. Because again, when I started my submission,
and you're talking about the ministry, right?
The ministry, yes. When I started my submission, I cited the example of the middle child. If you have too many children and lumping all of them together, at some point in that trace, someone gets overstepped. And it's the reason why when we say art, or we even call, if you put tourism, like the two things have similar needs, but some of the other needs are very different. And so how you would cater to a music industry, how you would cater to a creative art which has to do with poetry, literary writing, how you cater to a fashion industry, they may have some similarities, but again, the overarching needs are very diverse and very specific, tailored to the particular thing that is being done. In that light, if you lump it together with tourism, which everybody quickly jumps to, when you say tourism, we are going to the Omina castles, we are going to the monument sites, and we are going to all the legacy sites. The question is, that is the big child. That is the child that would get all the focus and all the attention. And we throw all the other things as add-ons. And like how people would have a show and call a poet 2 hours to showtime. Can you come and do a performance for us, just some 5 minutes? If it's only just because of how we've lumped the industries together and how we've made it look like this is the prime child tourism. The other things are featuring, but we are all very different and very unique. And for me, that is a number one issue. That is like one key thing. If you go to Ministry of Tourism, I haven't had the privilege to look at their budget allocation, but again, where is the allocation for literary arts? Where is the allocation for written work? Where is the allocation for publications? Where are those things? Everything would definitely go to tours. It would definitely go to looking at monument sites. And so it's why you would have a levy allocated to just that. But I particularly like Dog's submission on the fact that if there was a pool of funds and all the levies have quotas to each of the sectors under the umbrella of the ministry, then that would help. But the problem with even having overlaps in roles and why we would have an agency here and have an agency in that corner is because we are trying to do so much under one umbrella. And so there is no particular attention given to the specificity of every child under that umbrella. And that is also a problem. For me, I think simplifying the process and making sure that every industry is empowered enough to stand, even if they come under an umbrella, they each have someone overseeing that particular focal point, and there's funding allocated to that. There is a system, a structure put in place to cater to all of that. Otherwise, we will come back to this table 5 years, 10 years from now, and we'll still have this same conversation because nothing will change and everything will be in fine print, and it will be very beautiful ideas, very beautiful concepts, but down to implementation, somebody is going to get a short end of the stick. And that is not what we want to do to build a robust industry for creatives to thrive. Today, there are some poets, for instance, who I know are doing poetry full time. These people are living on a bucket of faith every day. Like, if you don't have faith, you can't thrive in this space because you can. There is no subsidy. There is nothing to support you. So you have to push and figure out how to make ends meet for yourself. And it's just by miracle. Each one of them will tell you it's only by miracle they are thriving to do what they're able to do. And other people are scared to come into that space because it's a question of how do I earn? Even interviewers would ask you, so does this make money? Why is that question a repeated question on every interview panel? Does poetry pay? It's because we know in our heart of hearts, we don't have the infrastructure to support the poet. We don't have the infrastructure to support the creative. So you almost sound like you are hoping on unicorns to say I am a poet, and that is what I do full time. It is heartbreaking. And for me, I always come with that impassionate appeal at implementation again, because that is the only way young people will be inspired to walk this path. That is the only way our economy will thrive. That is the only way our histories will live on. Some of the work I do with the All African Women Poetry Festival is to make sure that there is a platform that is built, to make sure that women voices, most women are not coming into the space because at the end of the day, the hustle in the space, it will take some guts to thrive. And we need an ecosystem that supports them. And so that's what I have committed my life's work to do, to make sure that in my own little corner, in as much as I'm here saying, let's make sure infrastructure and systems are built, let's make sure this is done. This is what I am doing in my corner. But I would burn out if there's no system to support in the long term. And again, 5 years will come around just around the corner, and we'll just be here because one person is only lighting a small corner and it's not burning fast enough to catch on with the forest. And so my plea really is, these are beautiful ideas. These are good things to do, but let's support initiatives. Let's make sure that even if the people coming do not understand the full scope, let's be an industry that supports and help educates the people who are taking the charge upon themselves to light their little corners. If I came to an industry to support, fund a project I'm working on, it's probably out of passion. And I'm like, nobody is here to do it if I don't do it. When I come, it would help that those in the spaces and know the fine print behind everything walk the path with us and show us how to make sure that we implement some of the things they have written, and not to PhD all of us and make sure that we struggle and stand somewhere and say, we knew you would burn out because this is not viable. It is viable. It is possible to do. It has the potential to thrive if only we will be a people that support the creative arts, if only we will be a people that have built infrastructure and are passionate about the thing we're talking about, not just in for the rhetoric of it. Really, for me, I feel like that would do us a whole lot of good. A whole lot of good.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Emma. Please stay on if you have any other opinions that you share. Let me go to Beat Menace, then I come to you, Uncle Bessa, B, then I come back to Fio. Beat. Yes, sir. I want you to combine all that you've heard from fashion to music to culture to poetry and book and publishing, if you like. Literary works. I'm giving you 1 hour. I'm giving you 1 hour.
Are you sure? You know I can speak for 5.
I know.
If you have the time.
I know.
It's been a very heartwarming conversation. Wow. You know, Kwame, I've been saying a lot of things that have been said today. As a matter of fact, I mean, I was here last week. And I did mention what Emma said. I do not think, tourism should be lumped together, with creative art, the creative arts. I think that's a big mistake. Honestly, at this point, I'm tired of speaking. Charlie, I've been talking. I've been speaking for 15 years, and we don't seem to be making headway. I really loved Doc's submissions actually, because he said about 80% of a lot of the stuff I'd planned to speak on. The one thing he said that I certainly do not agree with is the fact that we have an industry. I still don't think so, because every industry must be defined by some level of production or creation. It must be defined by an elaborate, intentional supply chain to supply demand for whatever is created. And we also need a feedback loop where monies or funds that are generated feed back to creators. And for the most part, across board, all that is non-existent. So a lot of creatives thrive. They thrive on grace. I think creative practitioners in our country are the physical embodiment of long suffering, if there's any such thing. I certainly agree about the fact that a lot of work needs to be done in the area of law and policy and restructuring. Certainly the consolidation and perhaps the rebuilding of a lot of these bodies that serve the sector. On the issue of funding, I believe a little headway or perhaps a glimmer of hope was announced. I think that was the reason the Exim Bank was created. I personally know at least 15 people who met all the eligibility criteria, who applied for those loans and never got them. I also do know about some beneficiaries of that who are very close to the political kick. So for that discussion, you see, we will never thrive under the banner of any partisan politics. Okay, a lot of the things Doc said about these centers, community centers that existed on a regional and on a district level, were implemented from Nkrumah's time. As a matter of fact, the late Saka Akwe was even taxed, to oversee some of these things. And the fact that at some point in time, we had all those structures created, and we've deviated. Emma was speaking. I mean, she's on the board of the Ifwa Sutherland.
Yeah.
Before independence, Charlie, this was pre-digital. Okay, Ifwa Sutherland would travel to the hinterlands, sometimes to communities that had no feeder roads, and she would go and build theaters there. At the time of her death, There was a documented 22 theaters that she had built and collected all these stories. Doc mentioned digitization, how we need to preserve some of these recordings. Charlie, we destroyed the National Archives almost 20 years ago when the Ghana Film Studios were put up in flames. So a lot of these intangible heritage assets will have to be recorded or documented again. We are not serious people. Because the creative arts, be footnotes, give somebody. That's the reality. So we keep running in circles. Yesterday I spoke about even the challenge with insurance. And I bigged up Hollard. And yeah, they just sent me a care package, which was rather surprising. So, I had to wear blue today in celebratory mode. But you see, when you have a sector where, like I mentioned, the first insurance company in Ghana existed before independence. For a long time, we never had any dedicated packages that were tailored for creative industries. Now we talk about company law and structuring. In most forward-thinking states or countries, they would provide something close to or equal to a social enterprise. You understand? So you won't even have conversations about tax rebates. It fixes it just merely by how, structurally, these companies or businesses or institutions are structured. You benefit in certain ways. You understand? Today, the GRA punishes you for actually doing the right thing to run a company. Pre-COVID, I had a registered business that had operated for a while. COVID was about to happen. This is one of several businesses I own. Ceased operations for it. Froze that business for a while. Post-COVID, going to renew your stuff. Charlie, did they punish you? It cost, by the time here's a wild thing, right? Everything is linked to your bank account. They can check transactions. Yeah. So they literally knew this company was non-existent. The amount they go cook up for penalty and this and that, everything came up to like 12,000, 15,000. If I'd registered a new company, it would have been better. It's idiocy. I'm sorry. There's no other way to call it. So until we start addressing some of these fundamental challenges, we have no right whatsoever to act as if everything is okay. Which is why personally I won't blame people who try and dilly-dally around what needs to be done right. Because literally, you pay taxes, you don't... The tourism report came out. Yeah. Have you read it?
I have read it. I've read it.
You see the amount of money generated.
Yeah.
But we just lost the castle recently, a fort. You understand? They are the elephants in the room. It be them they chop the national cake past anything. But maintenance culture cry it be new. So what are we trying to do here? Fashion, the used clothing menace. Mm-hmm. How are we empowering local communities? Yeah. Some of the chemicals they use to sterilize some of these things scientifically are now known to be carcinogenous. It will give you cancer. FDA, they approve them. Oh yeah, there was a time a couple of years ago, a lot of the printers in Accra Newtown went on a demonstration that the cost of material, printing ink, those who use the offset system and all those things, they know the fee pay for them. Because of the cost of duty and all that stuff. So how are we empowering communities? Emma did mention something about copyright laws and whatever. That I think is clear. That distinction I would like to make. It's 70 years. Yeah. Okay. After the death of the original author or creator. But there's the issue of enforcement. There's also the issue of awareness. Okay, I am yet to see practitioners in any field that are the most ignorant about the very things that affect their area of specialty. Past creatives. That's also another challenge that I guess we need to normalize and speak about. It's not a nice thing to talk about, but
Sure.
it's come to a point where I think we need to address some of these things.
They think issues like that are too technical for them to listen to.
You do not have any right to blame somebody when you are not cleaning house also. So there's a certain level of responsibility I think we also as creative people need to bear. Because if I'm a wealthy person and I have a house full of gold, I would want to believe that common sense will teach me that I should do whatever it takes to secure my building so I don't get broken into, to prevent theft. You understand? So if I know they lock my door, I know what I have. The thief also knows. So when the thief keeps coming in and stealing from me, I think when we develop a habit of blaming the thief time and again, it's a bit problematic. You understand? But one thing is clear. I mean, devoid of bashing creatives. That's not my intention.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just speaking truth to power.
Okay.
But one thing has been clear. I mean, from time immemorial, it seems any party that wants to come to power always uses creatives.
Yeah.
You know, they stand on the shoulders of creatives to get their message out there. And after that, you know, it's
Because
just business
creatives
as
are
usual.
influential.
Yeah, so we for shine eye.
They have the power.
Because they don't like us. That one there we know now.
They like us.
Oh, they don't.
But that's why they use us.
Oh, the fact that they use you know, they mean say they like you.
Are you sure about that?
They would protect our interests if they did. If I'm speaking for music, for instance, the foundation of music, right, is to get paid for the use of your work.
Yeah.
That has never functioned properly in Ghana. Never. There was a semblance of it at some point. So what are we here to talk about? Yenu Usirikwa.
Yenu Usiriko.
Yes, that's the phrase for it. Yenu Usirikwa. You see, so we can have the best policy on culture, but when we have all these organs, all these organizations, all these outfits that overlap, it's problematic. We need to trim the fat as soon as possible. And most importantly, we need to enforce laws. Laws need to work. The reason I do not have much hope, unfortunately, is the fact that best case scenario, we have a properly thought through policy on culture, drafted, debated, passed, enforced. It will have to inform every sector in the creative space. And outside of the creative space, it means education has to be revamped.
I get you.
Hospitality industries have to be revamped. The textiles sector, sorry for using the word industry, it doesn't exist. Those sectors need to be revamped. That's a lot of work. It's not easy. So for us to really implement some of these things, we'll have to do it in phases, devoid of partisan politics. And we also need to start making sure that people who represent various sectors in the creative space are worth their salt. They know what they are talking about.
Let me.
We have too many dimwits sitting in places they have no business sitting in. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. You and I know it. You see, I'm not here to make anyone happy. I'm here to speak the truth. Because I think we playtime is over. We need to wake up, smell the coffee. Sorry, you wanted to say something. And then my share blue.
I want to ask, no black today.
My lenient, kaka.
You spoke about the cultural policy.
Yes, sir.
Can we also think about maybe a creative arts development plan, maybe for 10 years? One that wouldn't change regardless of who is in power. So we have a projection of where we want to go. Is it the same thing? Does it tie into the cultural policy thing, or that could be?
I think a properly drafted policy on culture would
address that.
Would address that.
Good.
By default.
Good.
In the 70s, before we started having a series of military-led coup d'etats, the most basic under-resourced or underfunded schools had music programs that would allow teachers and pupils to go harvest bamboo shoots to create their own entertainment, to learn the rudiments of music. Today, African music is leading globally. But one of the fun, and Uncle Bessa is here, this is an issue we actually often speak about when we meet.
Okay.
A lot of the melodic vocabulary of a majority of our artists are truncated, so they can't even compete.
Please explain that to the ordinary listener.
So
you're getting technical.
If I would speak from a Western music standpoint,
okay,
the building blocks of music are notes.
Yeah.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Then do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. A lot of our artists in their minds cannot express the 7. They express like 4. Worry.
What's if the person is expressing him or herself in the pentatonic scale?
Here's the thing. We derive a lot of these things from the spoken word, from our languages.
Good.
Right? That's the thing. Schooling in Ghana, when you speak a local language, what do they tell you?
Local language.
They tell you don't speak vernacular.
Oh yeah, you'll be punished.
Do you know the meaning of vernacular? I'm super excited Emma is here. She's a poet.
Yeah.
A lot of our languages are highly evolved. Okay, the other day I was speaking, I think it was Olele, and I was saying something that even one of the reasons, like in music, for instance, songwriting prowess, like the ability to write creatively, is truncated. Is the average Ghanaian home does not encourage deep conversations in our local lingo. We only communicate surface level. You understand what I mean? But if you actually dissect it, our language is very, 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 very complex and poetic. Somebody says, "Oh, I'm sleepy." Menikum. You translate it directly. My eyes are killing me. Do you know the skill you need to write such poetic stuff? Do you know the training you need to express yourself as easy and effortlessly in English or any other foreign language for that matter? Okay? And here we are talking about culture. Culture has to do about, it has everything to do with the way people live. Okay? Culture is dynamic. It keeps evolving. But so is language. And a lot of African languages have been informed by the lived experiences of our ancestors.
Okay.
So they also contain encoded messages that obviously we did not heed to. And we are casting it away. No vernacular here. Which is why Very Valentino, the high fashion Italian brand, will take Ahinema, manufacture the same thing, finish it to extremely high standards, and sell it for 1,500 euros. Or something as unique as the Ghana Must Go bag that is tied to the socio-political history of Ghanaians will be taken by Louis Vuitton and repurposed. And we did hear they shout. So we don't know what we have until somebody takes it. Then we want to claim it. You understand? So I think that way of thinking needs to change. There's a reason why, for some reason, we started calling... Doc use he say omudiagro. Yes, because in Akan that's the lingo. Because agrofoma, arts and crafts was always perceived as it wasn't commodified for profit. It was part of our spiritual and physical expression. Somebody is pregnant, somebody dies, somebody is born, somebody marries, somebody has a conquest. Fashion, there's unique expression of fashion, poetry, in libation, prayer, architecture, music, dance. In a lot of our practices, even when performing music, distinction between performers and audience be blurry. And it steers the direction of the performance.
Good.
So I think when we had to commodify it, a certain level of value was stripped away. So I think we have some sort of unlearning to do.
Okay.
With that regard.
Okay.
To place value and a premium on creative expressions. I've just touched a bit across board, but Nyama Bibi will say it. I think Emma wants to say something.
Emma wants to say something. Let me go to Emma. I spend the time on Hakanaso. Quickly, let me go to Emma again before I come to Uncle Bessa. Emma,
Kwame, beautiful submission by Big Menace. A few things I want to set straight on the record.
Okay.
So I am not on the board of FOA Sutherland. I am the coordinator for the centenary celebrations.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So
Right.
the steering committee. So I'm not on the board.
Thank you for correction.
That said, I also want to comment on the thing of policy and personal responsibility. So, what I was saying with regards to the fact that I, as an independent artist and a self published author, know what my rights are, and I am working in my own capacity to protect what I can protect. But when I'm dead and gone, who is here to understand that this is what is due me? The education is not well circulated. So that information has not traveled beyond the individual seeking to understand this. But if it's a matter of policy and it's a matter that education has traveled far beyond the people in the crafts themselves, then it becomes a thing where we are all custodians of that thing that has been put in place. And so, again, it was more on the subject of policy saying there's nothing that protects the poet who is on stage performing spoken word as opposed to the one who has made the effort to put their work in a collection, in a book. So if I am a poet and I'm doing live events and someone takes a quote that I say, on which platform am I going to follow up to say this has to be traced back to me? No, but if I wrote it and I published it, then at least that has some rules governing it. So again, royalties and IPs and all the education around what it requires for the artists to be protected, both they protecting themselves and the population protecting the work they have done, that needs a lot more work to be done on that front. And so that's what I meant by citing that, yeah, I know it's 70 years after long gone and gone, but who in my family knows that after 70 years they can chase work for me? And where do they go to collect that particular royalty? Like where should they go to if they are not in my writing circles? If they are, and nobody in my family is a creative in this sense, in the way I am practicing it. So again, it's not commonplace for this information. It's not circulated and it's not commonplace. And so you have to be knee deep in the space to understand this is what I am likely to get if I duck all my I keep all the ducks in a row. Okay. So that was also something that I wanted to clarify on. And I think the final thing I want to talk about is agreeing or maybe adding my voice to the thing of our maintenance culture. You mentioned Efua Sutherland and some of the work she has done. I was amazed to dig into the work she had done and figure out she went around setting in place parks around the country, having experimental theaters all over places. Where are they? Our maintenance of these legacy things is just something else until someone, except what the family is doing to preserve a Mofra Park, how much of that work have we done to secure all the things that people have labored to make sure that we don't want to talk? So we want to be able to, in our own little corners, do act on the things we are saying. So I'm here complaining there are no platforms, there's no funding. In my own small way, I am making sure that I do it. Who is there to ensure that this thing is maintained beyond an individual? There is nothing guiding it structurally. So in 10, 20 years, this person fades off the scene and we are here re-engineering the wheel. We are building from scratch as if nothing has been done, but we are standing on the shoulders of legacies. We are not building from a vacuum. So the things I am doing is what the Efwa Sutherlands did, is what the Amata Edus did, but we are having to redo it again as if there's no framework. And why? Because policy, it's there in print, but it's not been implemented and structurally protected. And so we will come back 20 years and people will be trying to pull off a festival and they don't even know where to start from. They are still going to scrap around and figure out, how do I access funding? They're going to have to worry about, I am a solo artist, I just published my self-published book. How do I do an international tour? They are going to struggle with legal frameworks to support them to say, I performed for this corporate. What is due me? So they would have found it for themselves as a matter of personal responsibility, but there is no legal policy structure framework that protects them. And so you will be, and I'll come back to the home and set an example in the home. You are in a domestically abusive home, but let's say there's nobody out there protecting you. When you run into the streets, they will go back to your house. that is what we are facing. So we are going to the streets and going, Obi Mejimio, I'm in trouble, oh, this is happening, and everybody is saying, you go back to the house and try and fix it, because again, there is no publicly educated mass who is protecting this level of framework. And so for me, again, it's beyond individual responsibility. The individuals are taking charge, they are taking responsibility, but there's so much one person can do if policy is not protecting them. And finally, to end my thoughts on the local languages, we are speaking the things we are speaking, we are writing beautifully structured Akan, English, whichever form. Ga, people are writing in a Kriapem Ewa and all that, Epa or ever, and they are documenting it, but they are struggling in trying to circulate it amongst to a larger platform. They are trying to find funds to do it well. They are trying to dig into places where it's sustainable to do this, and people are actually giving you credit and paying for the work you are doing. We need the policies to protect the fronts we are pushing. And so things like Poetry Association of Ghana needs to thrive, and we need all the support we can get.
Thank you very much.
So that we can represent our artists the best way that we know how. Because we are there, we are in it. We are not sitting outside of it. We are there doing it. So when we are protecting our people, we know what they need. There's so much to say, but I guess
thank you. You've said so much. Thanks so much for your thoughts. Let me go to Uncle Bessa. Uncle, so listening to Dr. Phil Richardson, he made mention of the fact that he wishes the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture gets one fund that trickles down to the various agencies and institutions of the creative industry. Do you think this will be a good idea?
I think this is very, very important. So if you look at what we are presenting when it comes to funding,
okay,
we are saying that, there should be some improvised way of doing things. For example, there should be something like 2 to 3 year support for the unions and associations in the space that they have effective governance structures like constitutions and scheduled regular elections. It is very important because there's no funding at all. Every year we hear money allocated to the creative arts. We don't see it. It never materializes. So it's very, very important we have these things in place. And whoever is in charge, make sure these things are discharged.
So by this particular request, this is going to the union, Musica, right?
No, we
the music industry.
General, the creative arts.
Okay, creative,
because
the creative industry.
It's very, very important. And we're also saying that we need a legislation to empower. This time I'm talking about Musica, and I think other creative arts organizations can also adopt it to empower Musica, like we have with the bar associations, where you can't practice law in Ghana if you are not a member of the GBA.
Okay.
In doing so, I comes to my sister's point.
Emma.
People are doing things in bits and pieces in their small corners. So the bargaining power is weak. Our top artists are getting very little money. Whereas if things goes through a proper structured organization with a proper structured industry, things will go, better. We can command more and then, get more for our artists. We need action. We have spoken about this, some people have traveled, come back, still we are talking about it, but we need action. Action, like Dr. Phil said, we have to put the right people around the table. I believe in teamwork because if you don't have the right team, the band won't play well.
Exactly.
Ghana will lose all the time. Ghana football team. So we need the right people, to put in the right structures, laws and policies and things like that. And I'm looking for an industry. Come next year, this time, if we should sit down here and talk, that any creative person, when you create something, being music or something, anything, when it is used, you get paid for. So,
Okay.
which means there should be a music industry where musicians get paid. You know, if they use your music at FM station, someone plays it at his office, it should be paid for. And with this, well, even if it's $1, we have to have that.
And by this, I'm sure you're talking about Gamro. You are sending this out to Gamro, right?
No, yes, to Gamro. Gamro is not only where the income stream comes from.
Okay.
You know, we have streaming, we have this, we have that. But
I learned Gamro told us that it had gone into an agreement with some streaming giants to get royalties for its members.
Yes, they have. But the point is, we don't even have tariffs set.
Okay.
For when they play your music 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you know. So we need some brains behind to set these things up before next year. So that
Uncle Bessa, many in sound, but this Gamro matter, it appears it keeps coming up. Just, I think about sometime last year, when the Attorney General, should I say, what's the word to use? The license of Gamro was it seized or was Bitman, give me the right word. I don't want to use the wrong word. The license of Gamro, what's happened to it last year?
It expired.
Okay.
They haven't renewed it.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's been revoked by the attorney.
I learned Rex said we shouldn't use revoke, but they had put suspended was the word.
Is that what it is?
He said we shouldn't use the word
No,
revoke.
it wasn't suspended.
So the
I
words are
mean, it
becoming
expired.
Many. Okay.
They had their 5-year.
Exactly.
And when that expired,
So the renewal was,
the renewal
was put on hold.
was put on hold.
Okay. So in this situation,
Yeah.
how does Musica come in to make sure that things are
So
solved?
I think, Kwame, if you can, we should come back to this subject
Later, right?
Yeah, later,
Okay.
because it's a very tall order.
I agree.
But my last one will be
I agree.
Any government, we don't do politics, but any government that comes in, you know, we tell them what musicians need and what we think the creative arts need. I think we should continue the second part for the research that Musica did. You know,
The 2011 research.
Yeah.
The controversial research.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people in Ghana.
The controversial research.
But I mean, at the moment, it is the only research we have.
I even mentioned it when I was doing Say
everybody is relying on
0.0% contribution to the GDP
Yeah.
as of 2011.
Yes, but things have changed. So I think we should, because we are going to write to any government that come to make
So another
sure
one
that-
should be done.
Yes,
But I
should be-
think it should be for the creative industry in general.
That's
not for
exactly
music
what I'm
alone.
saying.
Okay.
No, that one was for the creative industry.
The
It's not-
2011 was for music industry alone.
No. If you look through
I read the
properly-
report.
Yeah, you know, we went into other things.
It was for music industry.
Did you see the full comprehensive?
Yes,
one of this
I
report?
read everything.
But there are other industries
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
Also, so I'm saying we should continue with that research
Okay.
to make sure that any government or Ghana knows how much the creative arts industry
Good one.
contributes
I
to
love
the
that.
GDP of this nation.
I love
In
that.
doing so,
Yeah.
I'll come back to the whole industry. Once we go digital, you see the government will see how much tax a creative arts personnel should pay. And if they see how much Nigerians are collecting, taxes they're collecting from the creative arts, then they should know. I'm also saying that we should separate the creative arts
From tourism.
from tourism.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think our sisters have done that in Nigeria. And looking at within a short time what is happening, I think it will be better, you know. At the same time, we as Musica are going to supply entertainment
Great.
to every tourist attraction center
Wonderful.
in Ghana.
Yeah. Nice one, Uncle Bessa Simons, president of Musica. Let me read some of your thoughts here quickly. Then I come to B. Arthur and I come to you, Doc. Then I end with Bitmenace. Quickly, let's do this. Remember, let's go up. Let me see this one. Hi from Amma Samantha. Great conversation about promoting the creative arts. Don't politicians and senior decision makers enjoy cultural events, so why don't they support better? Do we have more? Let's see if we do. This one says, she has been speaking well, making reference to B. Arthur, but let's ask, when the Minister for Trade, Alan Chimatin, initiated Friday Wear, the agenda was to patronize our GTPs, etc., but not to necessarily push the agenda to define who we are in the fashion world politically. What did the fashion team do in helping to shape the fashion world politically when the initiative came into being? I think we should push for data from the parties to really position us well in the mix. The policymaker and investors always want to work with figures, policies, and data. Policies have been pushed for, and we need to make sure as creatives to make it work. But let me ask, apart from Mr. Richard Comey, who else knows about the Creative Arts Agency Act 1048? I do. I mentioned it when I was doing Say It Loud. You didn't listen. We need to empower ourselves to make the politician know our worth. We feel like we creatives are not to participate in party politics, but we need to position ourselves and make the difference. From Kojupreko Dankwa. I think we have the last one here. Says, what happened to programs like adult education in various languages, showcase in various languages, Thursday theatre? We had programming that suits all generations, but look at today, Hindi movies in Ghanaian languages, etc. Purposely, Aprede. Let me come to you, B. Arthur. 2 minutes. Way forward.
Putting me on the spot. Thank
you.
Yes.
Yes. So we are going. What's the way forward for your fashion industry? Quickly, in summary, what do you think should be done for the industry?
You mean apart from all the recommendations?
Yes, so apart from the recommendations and everything everybody or anybody has said here on the show, your final words, if you like.
Well, it will be nice, for example, if the individuals who are using their own resources and networks to organize fashion weeks got some support from the government, since we don't have any national fashion events. And even though I completely agree that my sector, music and other creative sectors, should be completely divorced from the tourism ministry, I do believe that we play a very crucial role, a pivotal role when it comes to tourism.
I agree.
Because people travel to our parts of the world, everywhere in the world, whether it's Africa, Asia, Europe. People travel for what? For the arts. And nobody comes to Ghana for our lawyers and doctors and our architects. Apologies, I know disrespect intended, but nobody comes to Ghana to come for our doctors. But everybody comes here for our fashion, for our music, for our artifacts, to visit all what we call heritage spaces. So I believe that we are the driver for tourism. So we need to be supporting. The same way they've lumped us to, that's amazing, but now do something for us. It's nice that we have a music festival at the end of the year, and even that, I don't want to be controversial. Most of the main protagonists are a lot of times not even Ghanaian. The Ghanaian artists are the supporting musicians or whatever, performers. So we even use mega stars from other countries. So to make it short, how about, even if we cannot for now create our own international fashion platform, how about at least giving some support to those individuals and private entities that are doing it? I think that would go a long way to help us.
Doc, closing prayer. Quickly for me, and Bile is coming up next. Okay.
Yes, Kwame, I think that we need to invest in research. There's a lot. One of the
from Kojo
commented on the fact that politicians will need data, for the industry, and I think that just from Uncle Bessa, that initiative, we need to look at investing in research so we will know what is really the scope of our industry and the potentials that we can leverage on to develop our country.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Theo Richardson Kwame, who is the Deputy Executive Director of the National Commission on Culture. Thank you, Beats Menace, audio engineer, creative entrepreneur, and to you, President of Music A, Bester Simons, B. Arthur is fashion artist. It's been Showbiz A to Z on Joe 99.7 FM. My name is Kwame Dadzie. Yes, and it's been great having you here. Show produced by Philip.